To start off the Metal Gear series, we have Metal Gear, the game that started it all. This game features a young Special Forces operative, whom most people might know, Solid Snake. How's that for Snake's first appearance? He looks like the unholy spawn of Rambo and Dennis Quaid. Anyway, Snake is sent on a mission to infiltrate Outer Heaven and destroy the ultimate weapon, Metal Gear. Metal Gear was originally released for the MSX2 computer in 1987, though some may remember Nintendo's version, also released in '87 on the Famicom, and on the NES a year later in 1988. The version on Nintendo consoles was similar, yet a very different game, which lacked the stealth elements and quirks of the original, even missing a physical appearance of the game's namesake, Metal Gear, which was replaced with a supercomputer? Okay. Given the hardware limitations of the NES, it's understandable how it might not stand up to the original version. But this game was such a terrible recreation of the MSX2 Metal Gear that series creator Hideo Kojima had been quoted as saying, the care that he put into the original was not there, and how it was not up to his standards. So, while the NES version may have had more notoriety at first, the original MSX2 is clearly the definitive version of the game. Metal Gear was the game that would set the basis for future releases in the series for years to come. Many of the staple mechanics and themes are in it, from larger elements like gameplay to more minor details. The stealth-based game system was a core mechanic, even though it's a lot less sophisticated than any of the sequels. By default, the game's basic enemies are not aware of the player and will patrol the map unless they see or hear an intruder. The map layouts and enemy movement patterns are done in a way that allows the player to sneak by unnoticed with careful planning. If you enter their line of sight, they will go into alert mode and attack you until you either break visual contact and or kill a number of enemy soldiers. They can also detect you if you fire an unsilenced weapon. You can avoid alert phases from this detection method when you find a silencer for your pistol later in the game. Mechanics like these are what made Metal Gear ahead of its time. Another thing you'll probably notice about Metal Gear, in similarity with the later games, is that the bosses are all connected through a single organization, made up of a handful of elite members, each with their own unique abilities. This theme of having an organized compilation of bosses that you fight throughout the course of the game would go on to be used in every other main series game.
Now we'll never get that detonation code.
Boss, I have a good idea.
My friends, let us fight together again.
I have waited long for this day.
Other similarities to later games include a radio used to contact various people that can give you information on the mission, the ration-based health system, a sequence in the game where you're captured by the enemy, a pack of cigarettes with a hidden purpose, a battle with a Hind D, fourth wall breaking, lots of backtracking, ignorant soldiers, cardboard boxes, remote-controlled rockets, the final boss being a one-on-one fight, and the list goes on. This game really set the standard for the series and is a vital piece of its development. Now for the bad. The level design for the game varies only a little. Most of the time you're in some kind of gray or brown building. When you go outside, it's typically, well, more brown. Another thing I'd like to mention is the backtracking. Now, sure, you might say that the backtracking in Metal Gear is a staple mechanic, but this game really makes you feel the pain of having to go back. Like this guy, for instance, Madnar, a character in Building 2 who holds a vital piece of information you need to continue the game. He won't say anything until you rescue his daughter. Where's his daughter? Back in Building 1. Or at the end of the game, right before you enter the hangar where Metal Gear is located, you find out that the door's locked. After 7 keycards you think you'd have enough, but no. You need to go all the way back to Building 2 to get the 8th and final keycard. That means you need to go back and cross the desert of poisonous scorpions, go through the incredibly long water passage, cross this electrified floor that reactivates every time you enter the area again, defeat a boss, get the card, go all the way back past the floor, through the water passage, through the desert, down the elevator, and finally get back to the room. Ugh. Another thing, this game is cryptic. Now, there were a number of games around this time that were similarly cryptic, Metroid, Zelda, But at least there was a chance of owning or knowing someone who owned a Nintendo Power with a walkthrough or secrets list. I feel sorry for people that had to play through Metal Gear and figure some of this stuff out on their own. For instance, after rescuing a prisoner, he tells you can contact a Jennifer for support. He tells you that she only responds to high-rank soldiers, so okay, easy enough to understand. But what's not said is that she can only be contacted from specific locations, otherwise you won't get a response. When you contact her in one of these areas, she says, "I'll prepare the rocket launcher for you, come and get it." Wow, that's real descriptive. Get it where? Oh, you mean this room that had no indication of being a drop-off point that I went to earlier and was empty? Yeah, that one. Honestly, this isn't terrible, but you wish the game could have been a little more clear-cut. And added to a dozen other instances, it can make the game frustrating at times for new players. I also like this jackass who spoils the game's twist at the end. If you bother to go rescue him after getting the 8th keycard, that is. Gee, thanks, dick. That's like if a background character in The Empire Strikes Back was holding a sign that said, "Vader is Luke's father." You might miss it if you're not looking for it, but it still spoils the surprise. Sure, you don't have to rescue him, and sure, you can probably piece together what's happening through the radio calls, or already know if you've played later games. But still, just to put it out there in the open like that, come on. And finally, the only way to defeat Metal Gear is to plant plastic explosives on its feet. Okay, simple enough. But wait, you have to plant 16 plastic explosives. Okay, a little excessive, but with all the armor I can see that. But wait, you have to plant the explosives in a specific pattern on the left or right foot. What? That doesn't even make sense. If the goal is to destroy it, isn't that what the explosives are doing when they explode? Why does it matter which foot it's on when it goes off? The pattern is so needlessly long and varied, Metal Gear's own creator doesn't even remember what it is. All in all, the game's cons are heavily outweighed by its pros. It's fun, it's challenging, and it does things that most games weren't doing at the time, and a lot of games still don't do today. Overall, Metal Gear is a very good entry in the series, and if you haven't played it yet, I highly recommend it if you're willing to play older generation games or want a full Metal Gear experience. But the games only get better from here on out, so watch out for future series in review Metal Gear.